So my son was studying in Morristown, New Jersey, and it was visiting day, parent visiting day. So my wife and I drove up, and on the way up I get a phone call from my old college roommate. And he says to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm driving up to Morristown, New Jersey to a Chabad yeshiva. My son's there, and it's their parent visiting day." He says, "Your son is at a Chabad yeshiva?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "You got to get him out of there. Have your wife pull up the car. You run out, grab him, put him in the car, leave his clothing, lock the doors, there are bars in the windows, and get out of there. You don't want your son at a Chabad yeshiva." So I said, well, I didn't want to, get in a conversation with him about it. So I said, we're okay. I said, I started to change the topic. I said to him, "Where are you? What are you up to this weekend?" He said, "Oh, my wife and I are flying out to California. It's visiting day for my son." I said, "Oh, where is your son?" He said, "He's in Los Angeles at a drug rehabilitation center." The irony totally escaped him. When I was a conservative rabbi, a couple came to me and they said, "Rabbi, there's been an abomination." I said, "An abomination? Please come to my office. That's where we discuss abominations." So they came into my office and I said, "What's the abomination?" They said, "Our daughter is marrying someone who's not Jewish." I said, "Oh, I understand you're upset." "No, that's not the abomination, Rabbi." "So what's the abomination?" "Our son has become religious and he won't go to the wedding." Story 2 and the final story of the 3 stories. I sat at my Shabbos table. Shh, guys, it's not the 7th grade here. I don't do this for grown-ups. I sat at my Shabbos table like this. It was before we lit candles. So people were sitting around, we all had a discussion. And the discussion, someone had mentioned that they went to a wedding. We were talking about the wedding. And we were looking at the clock, seeing when it's time to light candles. But we figured we'll talk a little. And so they said it was a very interesting wedding. Apparently the bride, I'll say it tactfully, used to be another gender. And it got more interesting, the conversation. They said the groom, wait for it, used to also be... I, of course, sat there thinking, why didn't they meet a year ago? And they're discussing all the things, the pre-op, the prenups, all the different and then I look at my watch and I notice it's time to light Shabbos candles. And I tell them that we follow the Chabad tradition of lighting Shabbos candles for each and every one of our family members and children. So you have 5 candles we put on the table over there. There's 3 for you, there's 6 for you, for your family there's 7. And we had a whole table with all the candles lined up, 37, 47 candles, whatever it was. And the woman stands up and she sees the table with all the candles and she says, "That's crazy." And I thought to myself, okay, I can't hold it in any longer. That's crazy? I just listened to this about this chopping, this pudding, this that, this pre-op, this prenup, blah, 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 all of that. But this is crazy, to light a candle for the neshama, for the soul of every single one of our Jewish children. That's crazy. The Lubavitch Rebbe used to say, and I say he used to say it, he only said it twice, but he said something more than once, people said it over and over again, so he used to say it. And I'll say it in Yiddish and English. He used to say, "Kehr a Welt heint." Turn the world upside down today. And he didn't say it like I said it. He said, "Kehr a Welt heint." Turn the world upside down today. Why would a peaceful man yell to turn the world upside down? And when he told you to do something, by the way, he didn't tell you to do it because, it was poetry. He said, you go to Tulsa, you go to Taiwan, you go to Vietnam, you went. If he said to turn the world upside down, he wanted you to turn it upside down. But if we turn the world upside down, the chicken would be on the floor, the meat would be here. Blah, blah, blah. Why would he say turn the world upside down? Because as you and I all know, if we look at this world, we are living in an upside down world. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe wanted us terrible time to turn it upside down to make it right side up. United Nations says Libya is in charge of civil rights, and Israel, what they say about Israel, the world is upside down. And so my son comes home and he says he wants to have a beard and a hat, and my mother looks at him and says, "He has a beard and a hat. He's got such a nice face." He used to have the dimples here and the little cleft here and the hat. He's schwitzing all the time here in Florida. Needs that. Why does he need the beard and the hat, David? Can't he just be a little Jewish? And I thought about it and I said to my mother, you know what? For hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, our family and all the Jews in Eastern Europe, all over the world, had beards and hats, beards and hats, beards and hats. 2 generations in America. We don't have beards and hats. And a boy wakes up in the morning and says, I feel like I need to have a beard and a hat. I said to my mother, he's not the oddity, we are. He needs to have the beard and the hat. He needs to do the Jewish we talked about. And so he joined the army of the Rebbe, which was started previously by 7 Rebbes before. And I stood and sat actually at board meetings in my conservative synagogue where I was admonished for going to daven at Chabad, and they said at the meeting, they know what the secret of Chabad is. The board said it. So half the room said it's because they don't charge dues, and the other half said it's because they know how to take your money. So I said, now wait a minute, guys. You both can't be right. But you're both wrong. Because aside from the fact that Chabad does Torah and mitzvahs, and that's what Jews want when they come to shul, they want Torah and mitzvah when they go to get tires on their cars. They want tires. They don't want oranges sold to them, just as pretty and delicious as oranges are. They want tires. And when they come to shul, they want Torah and mitzvahs. But the secret ingredient that makes Chabad so popular, and people try to figure out how to articulate it. And I'll tell you what the secret ingredient is and why you're here. The secret ingredient is the Rebbe's love. The Lubavitch Rebbe was known for something he did not do. Can you imagine? Most people walk around saying, I'm known for this, I'm known for that. He was known for something he did not do. And what he did not do, he was non-judgmental. And he taught that to his Hasidim, and they taught it to their children and their children, that every single person in the room, doesn't matter who you are, what you do, where you come from, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew, non-judgmental. Someone came before the Rebbe and said, I came to this building, Rebbe, to find spirituality. And the Rebbe looked at him and said, there's more spirituality in you than this entire building. That's what they came. That's the secret ingredient. The Rebbe's love. And if I had, of all my 450 different shuls I've gone to of Chabad, if I have to pick out one thing that I want to share with you, I did all the work, by the way. I went to 450, so you can listen, you'll hear the one thing. The one, those look good. What is that? Meatballs? Oh. Wow. So, no, it's meatballs, I think. Isn't it? What is it? That's for me. I don't see any meatballs on that one. So, okay. In Boca, we like meatballs. What was I saying? I don't remember. No. I'll tell you the one story. The one thing that points out Chabad, represents all of Chabad from one place. I was in Boston at Tufts University. Tufts University in Boston. And it was the smallest crowd I ever had. We were around a little Shabbos table. It wasn't a big deal. It was a little tiny thing. It wasn't like a Binghamton where we had 800 students for a Friday night dinner. This was a few people. And the next day I spoke again. And then Shabbos, the Rebbitzin and the Rabbi, Beckman, said to me, you must be tired, David. Why don't you go for a shluch, a Saturday afternoon shluch? And I said, you know what? My biggest pleasure when I hang out with the shluchims, the kids, the rabbi's kids, I'm going to take them for a little walk, a spaziering on Shabbos afternoon to see the campus. So I go ahead and I take 4 of them. It was a machaya for the family. They only had 8 at home. It was like a second honeymoon. It was amazing. I took the 4 kids, 2 little girls in my hands, the 2 boys ran ahead. We're walking on the campus, and we look past the student center. There's a big glass window. We look inside, and we see some of the Jewish kids who were at the Shabbos table the night before. They're sitting on the computer now on Shabbos doing homework, writing, whatever they're doing on Shabbos. And we wave, we walk by. The little girl, I don't know how little she was, she tugs my hand. And I looked and I said, what is it? She said, they don't know about Muktzah and Shabbos yet, but don't worry, they'll learn. That's Chabad. Where did she learn that? That's the message of the Rebbe. She didn't hear at home, oh my God, look, they're acting like Goyim or something. She heard at home, don't worry, they'll learn, they're Jewish just like you're Jewish and I'm Jewish. And not only that, she figured I'm such a shlemiel, I don't even understand it, she has to explain it to me. She never met the Rebbe in her life, this little girl. But his message is a well and live in this shlucha, this future emissary of the Rebbe. In fact, she's an emissary now. And so I travel all over to all the Chabad houses and different stories. Today is the day, I should mention something since it's the 19th. And we should mention the Alter Rebbe. If you want to begin doing Jewish, how do you start? Like, where does a Jew? We're starting to do things. I met someone here tonight. He heard me at the University of Central Florida. Okay? He walks up to me and says, I heard you speak at the University of Central Florida. When was it? How many months ago?
Good question.
Whatever it was. Don't remember. He said that the day you spoke, I put a yarmulke on. I haven't taken it off yet. By the way, when you shower, you could... So, Baruch Hashem, not to make fun. Baruch Hashem. Okay. But his name is Ross. And I said, Ross, the second thing you're going to do now is he said Hebrew name is Reuven. Now he's Reuven. Do you know that on Hanukkah, what they wanted to take away from us? The Hellenists, not Helen Thomas, the Hellenists. They wanted to take away from us. One of the things was your Hebrew name. If I were to ask you the most important thing in Judaism, would you say your Hebrew name? The anti-Semites, they know what's important. When a Chabad rabbi comes to a new town, he's going to knock on doors and say, where are the Jews? The Jews go, I don't know. The anti-Semite, he says, he's 3 over there, 2 over there, 1 over there. The most important thing an anti-Semite will teach us is that your Hebrew name is important. The Alter Rebbe was playing, the first Rebbe was playing with his grandson, who was named the Tzemach Tzedek later on, became the third Lubavitch Rebbe. He's playing, but he was just a grandfather. We think of him as the Rebbe. He was a grandfather playing with his grandchild. And he's playing, what are you playing with his grandchild? He's playing, where is Zaidi? Where is Zaidi? So he says to his grandchild, the third Lubavitch Rebbe, where's Zaidi? And the third grandchild pulls his beard, pulls the Alter Rebbe's beard. He says, here's Zaidi. He says, that's Zaidi's beard? That's not Zaidi. He says, where's Zaidi? Then he taps his belly. He says, no, that's Zaidi's belly. Where's Zaidi? He pulls his earlobe. Here's Zaidi. He says, that's Zaidi's earlobe. Where is Zaidi? And with that, the third Lubavitch Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, got up and ran out of the house. And the Alter Rebbe, he's sitting there. What happened? Where'd he go? And he hears from outside, the child yells, Zaidi! Alter Rebbe gets up. He runs outside. He's on the porch looking down, and he sees the third Lubavitch Rebbe, the little child, looking up, smiling, pointing, saying, there you are. You're not your earlobe, you're not your beard, you're not your car, you're not your job. You're Zaidi, you're Bubby, you're Shmuel, you're Rivka, you're Menachem, you're Mendel, you're Avrami. You're your Hebrew name. Hasidic thought teaches us, if you want to find out who you are, the very essence of who you are, who am I? Who am I? You got to read a book. Start with your Hebrew name. The Hebrew name is the tunnel to who you are. That's what you have to find. Start with your Hebrew name. Each one of us has a Hebrew name. It's very important. You should know it. You should use it. You know when a Jewish man gets called up to the Torah, right? They announce, Yamod Avram ben Yitzchak, right? We think it's to make, so he's a big macha. They think it's to make him look like a big macha. Look who's going to go. It's to remind him. It's to remind him who it is. Shh. I include women, by the way. I'll tell you a funny story since this table seems to need some extra help here. So listen, you got meatballs also. Okay. Potatoes. Wow, you're not eating your steak. So my son is going to a very important rabbi Friday night in Crown Heights for dinner. He's going Friday night to dinner in Crown Heights at an important rabbi's house. And my son calls me up. And he says, I'm going to this very famous, important rabbi Friday night for Crown Heights for dinner. And I texted you because I wanted to bring him a bottle of wine or some cake beforehand, something to drop off at the house. So I texted you, Dad, please transfer money into my account immediately. Okay? So I said, yeah, okay, what's up? He says, I accidentally texted it to the rabbi. So I said, well, I said, first things first, these things happen, don't get worried, don't worry about it, these things happen, relax. Secondly, let's wait to see how much he transfers. He's a very wealthy man, and I'm doing so well recently. And thirdly, the name is important. Stop with these numbers. The name. Look at your Hebrew name. You should know your Hebrew name. Hebrew name is so important. Okay, so we should even try to call ourselves. We named our daughter Ashley. Her Hebrew name was Shira. She is now Shira. Okay, she knew it. She figured it out. Our children teach us more than we teach them. Shira. Okay, we have to use our Hebrew name. We will find out who we are. We're all naming our kids. People, Brittany, Brianna. It's bracha. It's different. So Hebrew names is very important. I'll tell you. Someone asks what the about the Lubavitch Rebbe, what the real, people say the secret of him and what he did. People say he did a lot of miracles and things. You heard the stories. And someone comes to the Rebbe and says, Rebbe, I we can't get pregnant, and we've tried for 50 years. There's no babies, nothing. So the Rebbe makes a bracha, a blessing, and the next day they have 20 children. You heard the story. Right? Someone goes to the Rebbe and says, Rebbe, we don't have any money. We're living in a car. The car has no wheels. It's in a lake. The lake has no water. It's whatever. Something. Next day the Rebbe gives a bracha, and the next day they own China and they're buying Russia. Okay? So now the fact is, even though I make a joke, the fact is there are unbelievable stories. But the fact is also that any one of us, if somebody came for a blessing for health or for parnasa, for money or for a living, we would give a blessing also. Who wouldn't? We do it every day. We make blessings for people. That wasn't the extraordinary, exceptional, unnatural thing about the Rebbe. We would do that. What I find to be extraordinary is that after the Holocaust, when broken seeds of Jews, of Hasidim, came to America, a normal person takes the broken seeds of Hasidim, puts them in the ground, puts a little fence around it, waters it in hopes they grow. Will they grow? I hope they'll grow. What does the Lubavitcher Rebbe do? He takes a broken seed and he throws it to Taipei. He throws another one to El Paso. He throws one to Montreal. He throws one to Daytona. And miraculously, just a few weeks ago when we all got together, 5,000 emissaries of the Rebbe, you sit there and realize that was counterintuitive. That was supernatural. That was amazing. And so there are stories and stories that show us who these individuals were. They came into this world and each of us are doing something in this world, but we'll leave and hopefully we'll be remembered by a certain amount of people. But to make an effect on 70 countries, and that you weren't even elected, you weren't even hired, you weren't even interviewed. To do that. Don't talk, drink. Drink, it's a Fabrini, drink. Drink. If I wasn't talking, I'd be drinking. It's one or the other. I'll tell you. So, somebody went to the Rebbe for a blessing. And he asked for a blessing, and the Rebbe gave him $1. We all know, right? He took the $1, and the Rebbe said, give this $1 in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem, when you return. He says, okay, I'll give this $1 in Jerusalem when I return. He takes one step, and he realizes, wait a minute. The Rebbe made a mistake. He heard my accent. He thinks I'm from Israel. I'm from France. I have a French accent. The Rebbe thinks I'm returning to Jerusalem. He said, here, take this $1 and give it for tzedakah when you return to Jerusalem. But I'm from France. So he says to Rabbi Groner, he says to the Rebbe's secretary, the Rebbe made a mistake. He thinks I'm from Israel. I'm from France. He heard my accent. He told me to return to Jerusalem. And the Rabbi Groner said, what did the Rebbe tell you to do? He said to go back to Jerusalem. Didn't do that. No, but I'm from France. He said, what did the Rebbe tell you to do? He told me to go. He didn't do that. So the guy goes back to France. He's in France sitting with his $1. And he says to himself, okay, I got to go to Jerusalem. He gets on a plane with his $1 and he flies to Israel. He gets to Ben Gurion Airport. He hops in a cab, says, take me to Yerushalayim. The cab driver says, do you mind if we share a cab? He says, I don't care. Another guy gets inside the cab, sits with him. He looks over at the guy and he says, what are you up to? What are you doing? He says, the Rebbe gave me $1. I'm going to Jerusalem. He says, the Rebbe gave you $1? He says, what did the Rebbe give you $1 for? He says, I needed a blessing so my daughter should get married. He says, the Rebbe gave me $1 for my son to get married. They called the Rabbi Groner. The shidduch was made and they were married. How does this happen? Rabbi Grona tells these stories. This is, I don't tell a story, by the way, unless I heard it first hand from either the Rebbe's secretary or from some. I was in North Carolina. Oige Volt. I was in North Carolina at Rabbi Pinney Herman's shul. Okay? No story from a book. No. His wife is from Los Angeles, from the West Coast. And it's told the story of her father, who was a surgeon, studied to be a surgeon, and finally got his degree, and was starting to make a little money and pay back his loans, and something happened to him. I don't want to be too graphic, but he was standing on a chair and he fell and he landed on a broom handle. Punctured his eye in, twisted around. Finished. The eye's done. He goes to a doctor. The doctor says the eye is finished. It's done. It's inside, twisted, gone. He's saying, what are you talking about? I'm a surgeon. How can that be? I have surgeries lined up this week. What are you talking about? He was a very aggressive man, but even more so now. So he writes the Rebbe. He doesn't hear from him. Finally, he calls the Rebbe. Now, the Rebbe never used the phone. I think one of the most ingenious things about the Rebbe, above everything and everything, is that he never used the phone. We should never use the phone either. We'd probably do better off. But the secretary answered. And he said to the secretary, he said, my eye, what do I do? My eye, I'm a surgeon. He tells him all the stories. He says, what do I do? He says, hold on. There's moments of silence, and he finally gets back on. He says, the Rebbe wants to know, on Friday night Shabbos and on Havdalah after Shabbos, do you drink red wine or white wine? And he says, what are you talking about? Red wine, white wine, my eye, it's gone. I'm a surgeon. What are you talking about? The Rebbe would like to know if it's red wine or white wine. Red, white, I don't care. Whatever color I drink it, I don't care. It doesn't matter. Right? Hold on. There's silence. He gets back on the phone. The Rebbe says you should only drink red wine. And then he says, as Rabbi Herman tells me the story, that's it? You can tell the Rebbe, that's it? He said, yeah, that's it. So he said, oh, upset, forget it. Of course, Shabbos comes, he's going to go for the red wine. Havdalah, he's going to go for the red wine. A week goes by, nothing. Second week, Shabbos comes, red wine. Havdalah, red wine. Saturday night of the second week, he's lying in bed. He says to his wife, my eye is clicking. She says, what does that mean? He says, I don't know. So why are you telling me? I don't know. I don't know what clicking means. I don't know what clicking means either. The next morning he wakes up, his eye is perfect. He sees, he has no problem, he's good, he looks in the mirror, he calls up his doctor, he says, my eye is perfect. The doctor says, no, it isn't. He says, I'm telling you it's perfect. He says, it can't be. He says, well, I'm a surgeon, I'm not an eye doctor, but I should know my own eye. Even if I wasn't a doctor, I would know. He says, come to my office. Comes to his office. Doctor looks at him and he says, my God. He said, who do you know? And he says, the Lubavitch Rebbe. He says, that's the only answer. Why? Baruch Hashem. My favorite little piece of the Rebbe is another, has to do also with a wedding. A guy goes to the Rebbe because he hasn't been married yet. He's getting old already. He was like 20. You know, it's time. 20, God's sake. 5 good years, gone, shot. He's 20 years old, he's not married yet. No, he's a little older maybe. He goes to the Rebbe and says, I'm worried, I'm not married. What can the Rebbe gives him a bracha and he says to him, Bikarov. What is Bikarov? Soon, it's near, it's coming. Soon, it's nearby. Soon, Bikarov. Close. He goes, the Rebbe said close. He's all excited. He goes home. The Rebbe said it's close. Years go by. Nothing. Finally, yes, Baruch Hashem. He finally gets married. Okay, good. He has children, Baruch Hashem. Then the videos come out online where you can watch your moment with the Rebbe. And everybody starts looking up. I want to see myself getting the dollar from the Rebbe. You know, everyone's looking online, the moment with the Rebbe. So he and his family and his children and his wife are all gathered around the computer and they're looking up. You know, and they look, there he is, there's a young man getting the dollar. Look at that. And there's the Rebbe, big car. Wow. And his wife says, I'm the next one online. Big car, close, nearby. Why is it that? Or what? You know, I will tell you this. The shluchim, the emissaries that get sent out by this Rebbe, okay? And I say this Rebbe because we're in touch with this Rebbe. He is from the Alter Rebbe. You know, it wasn't, this contact didn't happen before. Hasidus people were not involved with this type of life until the Alter Rebbe decided, you know, we should go ahead and be part of this. I mean, today commemorates he was in jail. You know, by the way, they always tell the famous story. They always tell the kids, you know, the parents that this rabbi was in jail. This rabbi was another celebration. And they say, why are you hanging around all these people who go to jail all the time? You know, well, this rabbi's in jail all the time. You know, all of them are. You know the famous story of Eli Melech. He was a contemporary of the Alter Rebbe in the 1700s. Eli Melech is in prison with his brother Zusha. They got arrested with a bunch of thieves, accidentally. And they were in prison with a bunch of thieves. Eli Melech, the great Eli Melech and Zusha. And it's time to pray Mincha, the afternoon service. Very important prayer. And so Eli Melech says, I have to pray the afternoon prayer. But I can't. Why? Not to be grotesque, but in prison, in the middle of the room, there's a bucket where people relieve themselves. It's not a pretty place. And you can't pray. Like even in a shul, you close the bathroom door. You can't pray or a bucket in the middle of the room like that. So Eli Melech's so upset. He's in prison with this bucket, and he tells his brother Zusha, I don't understand, I'm all upset, I can't pray mincha. How can I do that? The Torah says I have to pray mincha, and now I can't pray mincha because it's not allowed. And Zusha says to him, listen, the same Torah that says that you have to pray mincha also tells you should not pray mincha if you're in this situation with this bucket. So he says, oh my God, that's amazing. His whole mind was like, yes, I'm actually following a mitzvah by not praying mincha. He's all excited. So as two good Hasidim do, Zusha and Eli Melech start dancing around the bucket. You know, dancing around the bucket. They're all excited because this bucket is allowing them to do another mitzvah. And the guards walk by, and they see these two Meshuggahs dancing around a bucket. The guard calls over one of the other thieves, and he says, what are they doing? He says, well, I don't know. They seem to be very excited about this bucket. So he says, I'll show them. And he goes in, and the guard takes the bucket and removes it from the cell. And then they daven mincha. So, you know, the prisons are very interesting places to learn things. And the Tanya was written in prison. You know, Futterfass, Rabbi Futterfass was in Siberia, very famous rabbi. Most of his knowledge and stories are not about when he was sitting at his Shabbos table. All his stories about Rabbi Futterfass was in a Siberian prison. You know, he was in a prison with a bunch of gamblers. And they're gambling. They're playing poker. And he never saw this before, because, you know, a yeshiva boy doesn't know from poker. He knows craps. And, yeshiva boy doesn't know poker. So he sees them playing poker. And he's watching, and then the guard comes in, because you're not allowed to gamble. The guard comes in, where are those cards? And the guard looks through the whole cell, can't find the cards. The second the guard walks out, the cards come out again and they play. And Futterfass is watching this. Then the guard comes in again, where are those cards? Looks, tears the place apart, can't find it. Goes on and on and on. He plays, the guard comes in, tears apart the room, can't find the cards come out. Finally, Futterfass found this amazing. And he went over to the guy and he said, how is it that this guy can't find the cards every time he comes in here? Where are you hiding the cards? And he says to him, I hide them in the guard's pocket. The guard comes in, I put it because we don't look in our own pocket. Rabbi Futterfass walked away with such great knowledge from that we look all over the world for different things. You make your own sermon from this one. Okay? And instead we should look inside our own. There was a rabbi I visited, and he said every day a guy came in, put his yarmulke on in the shul instead of outside, put it on the shul. The rabbi was bothered by this. And then he said, but I'm not going to say anything. He said, you know what, let me look in my pocket. What am I doing wrong? Well, what are my problems? They're not so wrong, but what are my chesronos, the things I'm lacking? So he says, you know, I walk in the shul, I have a yarmulke, but I'm not just walking in. He says, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to chazar remind me. I'm going to go ahead and say something I learned once by memory when I walked from my car into the shul, because I'm going to do something different in mine. Instead of looking at him, I'm going to look at me. And after a few times of doing that, he turned around and he noticed the guy's got his yarmulke on. He walks in with it. If you start looking in your own pocket, your own chesronos, your own things that you're lacking, you'll find out that people you're hanging out with, all of a sudden they start to look better to you also. So we look in our own pockets, and we learn this from Rabbi Futterfass. So the prison is an amazing place where these rabbis did, like the Alter Rebbe. In fact, how he survived, I understand. He was put in prison. I mean, this is not a pleasant place. This wasn't, North Carolina where you play tennis. And it's a very terrible, terrible situation. But a governor, a minister of the town came to see him and said, "Oh, I want the famous Rabbi, Shneur Zalman from the Adi is here. I'm going to go visit him." And he came to him and he said, "When God said to Adam, 'Where are you?' Ayeka." Why did he say that to Adam, "Where are you?" Doesn't God know where he is? And he said, yeah, he wasn't really into it, but he said, I'll give him the Rashi answer. He said, yeah, Rashi said that he didn't want to startle him, so he just said Ayeka, just to say, okay, not to get scared, it's knocking on the door, hey, I'm here, I'm God, where are you, Ayeka? So he said, no, I know that's Rashi. He said, tell me another answer. He forced him to think of another answer. Well, he's got to do better than Rashi. And he came up with an answer, and he said, when God said to Adam, where are you? He meant, what have you accomplished? What are you doing? What have you done? And that hit the Alter Rebbe between the eyes. He realized, that's how I'm going to survive in this prison. And for 53 days, he wrote 53 chapters of the 53 sections of the Tanya, the first section of the Tanya. Very first Tanya was written there. The Tanya that he wrote is the most published book in places in the world. Let me say that again. The most published book all over the world. I'll tell you what that means. That means, it doesn't mean it means it's published in certain places. I don't know if there's one published in Daytona. We have one published in Daytona. It means that the Rebbe said, I want them printed in that place. Why can't we just print it in Crown Heights and distribute it? Why can't we just print it in China? It's cheap, and then distribute it. Why does it have to be published in Stony Brook, and it has to be published in El Paso, and it's got to be published in Taipei, and it's got to be published in Daytona? Why? And he said it's because it's not a book that's from over there, that they're doing over there, and we're reading about what they're doing over there. It's a book that the source is from Daytona. The very source of this knowledge comes from Daytona. You read a cooking book from Louisiana, you go, well, this is how they cook in Louisiana. No, it's a cooking book from Daytona. This is how they cook in Daytona. And we read it differently. And that's why he said it should be printed in all those places, and it's printed in all those crazy, crazy places. It's not easy to print a book. And Tanya is printed all over. So I will tell you, my shluchim, my emissaries that I visit all over the world, they did not get a how-to book when they were sent all over the world. They didn't get one. I was in Houston, Texas, Rabbi Lazer Lazaroff. I come into his house with his wife there, and they tell me something very personal. I couldn't believe they were telling me this. Something very, very personal. They said to me that years ago when they had their second child, the second child was very, very ill. And they took that child, and new parents, you have two children, you don't even know what to do with children when they're healthy. That child's ill, what am I going to do? You want to save its life. It was very ill. And they went all over the country. They slept on the floor. They slept in hotels for hundreds of dollars a night. They slept on the floor for zero. They did everything. They had to go for months, for weeks. And the child passed away. It's years later now. Baruch Hashem, they have many children, healthy, they have grandchildren. And then they opened the back door of their house. And we step outside. And we're in the center of Houston. There's about 7 of the most major hospitals, the Shriner, the most major hospitals. We're in the backyard, all these hospitals. And in the backyard, straight ahead of us, is this huge facility called Eshel House that they built, the rabbi and his wife. It is a house that was built for people, not just Jews, for people that come with a loved one to the hospital and don't have a place to stay. And they can stay there for free from 1 day to a year to 2 years, as long as they need. It's a huge facility. And they built it there. Because someone else that loses a child, chas v'shalom, God forbid, may hate God, may get divorced, may become depressed, may go on drugs, may commit suicide. But a shaliach of the Rebbe, an emissary of the Rebbe, he says, I've been shown something that's been revealed to me. And what am I going to do with that that's been revealed to me? It's very painful that it was revealed to me, but it was revealed to me. I found that these people who are in the situation we were in need a place to stay and need to be looked after while they're caregivers. And someone in my audience once said, I was there 2 weeks before we arrived. The Rebbitzin called and said, what kind of food do you eat? Is it gluten-free? What kind of challah do you want? They start baking and cooking. That's the shliach of the Rebbe. The very first emissary of the Rebbe that was sent out was to Morocco, Rabbi Nesenoff. And by the way, he came from Russia. Can you imagine getting out of Russia? You finally come to the United States with your family. You're out. I'm here in America. Oh my God, I'm out of Russia. And the Rebbe says, I'd like you to spend your life in Marrakesh, Morocco. What? You're going to Marrakesh, Morocco. And that's where you're going to live. And by the way, it wasn't like today. You get on a flight to go here, there, you know. Okay? This is the first shaliach to go out. You go there, you're not coming back every 2 months, you know, for some food in Crown Heights, you know. You're there. And kosher meat, you better learn how to be a shochet. You know? So he goes to Morocco. And he's there. I believe it was 14 years went by. He had family also. His other mishpachas in New York, but he had a wife and children developed in Morocco. He finally comes back. He decided he'd take a picture. He'd take a photograph of his family. Now we do the iPhone. Boom, 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 boom. They had to hire a guy. He comes there, they set up, they get in the thing, they take the photograph. He paid for 2. I'll take 2 photographs. So he gave one to his family in Morocco. They should have the picture. He took the one picture he's going to bring to his family in New York that he hasn't seen in 14 years. He stops first at the Rebbe. And the Rebbe asks him about how is the going in Morocco, and he's talking to him, okay? And he says, let me show you my family. He shows the picture to the Rebbe. And the Rebbe looks at the picture and he says, oh, can I have this? He says, yeah, sure. You can have it. He's bringing it all this way. So he took it. And the Rebbe takes it and puts it on a pile with all these other papers. Yeah, thank you. Well, he went, he visited his family, and then he gets a message that the Rebbe's mother, Chana, wanted to meet with him, to meet with Rabbi Nesenoff from Morocco while he was in town. So he goes to the Rebbe's mother's house. And she's very interested. She wants to know about the Rebbitzin. She wants to know about kashrus, kosher, about the mikvah. She wants to know about all the different things that are going on in Morocco and the children and the learning. And then she steps out to get some tea. She always drank tea with her guests. She wanted to get some tea. And she stepped out. He walked into her salon there, the area. He noticed over the fireplace, there was only one picture, beautifully framed in a silver frame. It was the picture of his family, sitting up there in the Rebbe's mother's house on her fireplace. He couldn't believe it. She entered the room. He said to her, what is this here? What is this here? And she said, and by the way, the Rebbe never had children of his own. She said, the Rebbe, my son came to me, and he said, you always ask, where are my children? And he gave me this, here, these are my children. This Rebbe has tens of thousands of children, and you are part of those children as well. You are part of this shlichus. And I tell you, it's not just up to the rabbi and his wife to ask someone to put tefillin on or to go ahead and light Shabbos candles. If you're here, I only speak to audiences that show up. If you are here, it means that you're here and you're an emissary now also. And it means that you also have to go ahead and be on shlichus. Before we conclude this part or whatever, I'll just tell you I'll tell you why you're here. The Alter Rebbe certainly began this process, okay, of going ahead and writing this Tanya and trying to bring it to the people, okay. And the Rebbe, when he came to America, even before he was the Rebbe, he did something no one ever heard of before. Today they call it outreach. Today everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it. McDonald's. Everybody's doing outreach. I don't know. Everyone's outreach. No one ever heard of such a thing. The Rebbe sat on a Shabbos afternoon at 7:70 at a table like this with like 10 Hasidim. He wasn't even the Rebbe yet. And he said to them something they never heard before in their life. He said, we have to go out there and we have to meet with people who don't have hats and beards. Jews. They want to be part of all of Yiddishkeit and Torah. And they said, oh, please, please. They don't want it. He says, no, they want it. They said, well, how will we know who's Jewish? It's 1940s. This is one of the 1940s. How will we know they're Jewish? He said, you ask them. They said, we're going to walk up to someone on the street and say, are you Jewish? And with that, the Rebbe got up from his seat. And he walked out onto Eastern Parkway. And the Hasidim followed behind him. And he said, and he saw a woman crossing the street carrying a bag of groceries on Shabbos with her handbag. And the Rebbe walked up to her and he said, pardon me for asking you, but are you Jewish? And she said, well, yes, I am, as a matter of fact. Why are you asking me that? He said, because I'm Jewish too. And today is Shabbat Kodesh. Today is the Holy Sabbath. And if you guard the Sabbath will guard you. And I see you're carrying something we don't carry on Shabbos. If you want, you can put your handbag with your groceries down on the floor here. And when the sun comes down, you can come back and collect. She must have thought this was the most polite mugging she's ever been at. You know what I'm saying? She said, no, thank you. I'm not going to do that. But, no, thank you. So he says, I can get someone to lock it in the office. Somebody who's allowed to carry. She says, no, I've got a lot on my mind. Thank you, gentlemen. Good Shabbos. And she goes to take a walk. It's one step away. She takes one step. And the Rebbe turns to her and he whispers, it not only protects you, it'll protect your son. With that, she turns around. By the time she turns around, she's already crying. And she says to the Rebbe, how did you know? How did you know? Her son was one of the first ones in Europe, in the theater, in Europe, in Normandy. They're being killed on the beach. They're being killed in the boats before they get off onto the beach. We hear stories and stories, and she hears everyone's being shot and killed. She hadn't heard from her son in a while. All she thought about was my son, my son. Everyone tried to think about what she must have felt and thought. And she took her groceries in her handbag and she put them on the street and she walked away. She came back at night, collected it. 2 weeks later, she shows up at the Rebbe's office with a letter. I know the letter because I was in Australia. I saw it published. The letter was from her son, written that weekend. And it was to the mother saying, I'm okay, I'm alive, it's a miracle. This one died, this one was killed, Johnny and Tony, but I'm alive, I'm okay. I just want you to know I'm okay. I know you must be worried about me. She handed the letter to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe smiled. And he said, even if you didn't put your bags down, the Abish, the one above, he's going to look after you and your son. But you know what? When he comes home, why don't you enjoy Shabbos together? Enjoy Shabbos. The Lubavitch Rebbe wouldn't ask anybody to do anything that he personally wouldn't do himself. He was the first boots on the ground. The first one in the street saying, are you Jewish? We have to also do that. Get out of our uncomfortable zone. And go up to people, are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? Why don't you come? Are you Jewish? It's okay. The only people that will ever get angry if you asking that are Jews. I want you to know. A non-Jew goes, why do you think I look Jewish? Do I act Jewish? Really? I could be. You want me to be? What is it? Do you have challah? What do you want? Anything? I like challah. Ask a Jew if he's Jewish. Because his Jewish soul, his neshama inside, is going crazy. Did you know that after, let's finish with it, after the Helen Thomas thing happened, I got involved in television, and we got involved in reality television. We were trying to do some kosher television show, whatever. But I started watching a little reality television. I do not recommend it. You'll lose brain cells per second as you're watching. It's like there's a meter that goes on. It's just going down like that. But at the end of the show, you're already like, you walk out like you're an idiot. But there was one show, one reality television show I saw that was amazing. I found very interesting. You probably never saw it, but it was on one of the channels, cable. It was called Abigail and Brittany. Two sisters. It's a reality show about two sisters. But they were very special sisters. They were sisters that had two heads but one body. They used to be called Siamese twins, but I think the Siamese Defamation League got it. Now they're called conjoined twins. But they're like 20 years old now. Two heads, one body. This one walks with this leg and arm. This one walks with this leg and arm. They go bowling. They go skiing. They go skating. They jump out of plane. They do all these things. And they're the happiest. I first couldn't watch it. But watching them, they're the happiest two sisters I've ever seen in my life. Because they're looking after each other. They're looking after each other. You know, if she wants to go bowling and she wants to go to the movies and they don't agree, it's not a good thing. You know, they're not going to work out. But she goes, okay, I don't want to go to the movies, but I'll go. Okay, I don't want to go bowling, but I'll go. I don't want to read a book, but I'll go. They look after each other. Why do I tell you this, and why do I conclude with this? Because we learn from Tanya, we learn from the Alter Rebbe, that each and every one of us are conjoined twins. Each and every one of us has two heads in one body. We have a body soul, and we have a godly soul. We're walking around conjoined twins. And our body, we want to go eat, go skiing, Shabbos, want to do this. Our soul has other things it wants to do. It wants to sing Shalom Aleichem 3 times. Personally, I want to sing it once. My godly soul wants it 3 times. Like, okay, I'll do it for you. When I went skiing, you helped me with that. I'll go help you with this. Okay? We have to look after our godly soul just as much as our soul looks after us. Okay? If you don't sleep one night, you're exhausted. If you don't sleep 2 nights, you're exhausted. If your godly soul doesn't get once a week a Shabbos, it's going to be exhausted and be no good for you. If it doesn't get 2 Shabbos, if you people walking around for 30 years and never had a Shabbos, that's why they look the way they look. They're walking around, they don't understand what's wrong with their life. It's because they're conjoined twins, not looking after their twin. Tonight, when we walk out of here, we're going to kiss the mezuzah on the way out. And each and every one of us, the way we celebrate Rosh Hashanah this year, today, this Rosh Hashanah, is we kiss the mezuzah, we make what they call a hechleka, we make a decision, we make a little resolution. Don't take on too much. Take on something. And kiss it, but kiss it twice. 1 for your body, and 1 for your conjoined twin. What am I going to do for my body, and what am I going to do for the mitzvah, for my conjoined twin? What am I going to take upon myself? And that's what we should be doing as we celebrate this. And in that way, we give great honor to the Alter Rebbe, who spent his time in prison, and he was released. And he got out, and he brought unbelievable Hasidus to this world. The day after he got out of prison, he went to live with a Jewish family who were not Hasidim. My son always says that Hasidism is the spice. It's like eating food without anything in it. Is that everything? With Hasidism is when you put the spice in it and the taste. It's like a cake without sugar. Who wants that? Hasidism is the sugar in the cake. So the day after he got out of prison, he was with a family who wasn't the Hasidim, and they didn't have the spice or the sugar. And the Alter Rebbe actually says, it was worse than the prison. Okay? You need Hasidus in your life. That's why this room is filled up. Okay? But be good to your conjoined twin. Give 2 kisses on the way out. Thank you and have a good night.